All right. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever it is to you. Welcome to the Shining Icosahedron Great Order, Season 3. This is Acolyte Fovorobos, and we have a very special guest, Jay Scott. Hi. How are you, Jay?
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you so much for accepting. I am very excited to pick your brain and all of the information you have so far. But before we get started speaking with Laura Gosumba, let's talk about Jay a little bit. Where are you from?
So let's see. I have almost the same place for all my 56 years of existence. I've lived right outside Philadelphia, in South Jersey, so in the state of New Jersey, in that
Mm-hmm.
area. So we're there's Philadelphia fans in New Jersey, and there's New York fans in North Jersey. So I'm not the Sopranos, North Jersey. I'm a South Jersey person. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
good
So
to know.
yeah, it's a small state, but it's really two separate states. But I'm from South Jersey. Uh, uh, with the exception of college, I've lived here my entire life, and it's been a fun 56 years. And as far as I do have a career outside of D&D, so I've been with the same company for 29 years. I've been a sales rep.
Wow.
Yep, I've been a sales rep for them. Their corporate headquarters is in Texas, so I head down there a lot. But it is Dungeons and Dragons is a beloved hobby of mine. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that anyone that has seen your channel and your content can see that just from the first glance.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a story in itself, getting that channel up and going. It's been over 5 years now, and you know, uh, when we started doing that back in 2018, a lot of my players were old school. We're the definition of old school D&D, right? In more ways than one. Um, we're not too happy about me streaming, and that was a real learning curve, but we got through that.
Really?
Oh
The
yeah,
players, they weren't happy out of
two of
stream.
them, two of them didn't want to do it.
They didn't want to have the cameras, or why?
Because they didn't want to be what's the word, didn't want to have to watch what they had to say, and because it's a different world when you're
Oh,
streaming, right?
yeah.
They were worried about that, and they didn't want to be on camera, but that we're way past that now. But the first couple months, yeah, the first couple months were really,
But they
really.
stayed.
Oh yeah, because I've been playing with them for most of them since 1980. It's been
Wow.
that long. Oh yeah, since we were children. Yeah.
All right. So since you mentioned that, how did you get started with D&D RPGs?
All right, so look at this. I got my starter set right here.
Really?
Aha! Yeah, so 78, 1978.
That's
I'm
amazing. Is
I'm
that
11.
your original set?
This is a much better conditioned one. The original
Okay.
one's smashed, but this is what's called the Holmes Basic box set. It's the first basic D&D that came out. Now there was the white books that came out in 74,
Yeah.
which is called OD&D, but this is really the first basic or BECME or B/X D&D system. And this is the Holmes Basic box set. Everyone knows it by the iconic box, and then inside is the rule book, right? Rule book, and then the Keep on the Borderlands, right? At first, one of the great first adventures, and then the thing that drives everyone like, what are these? These are called chits.
What's that?
This is before dice. You cut them
Oh,
out. You cut them out, and you put them in a jar or glass, and you pulled it out, and that's the number you rolled. Yep.
I had no idea.
Yep, the chits. Yeah. Well, that's dice weren't there were not a 20-sided dice all over the place back then. Yeah, or 12-sided dice. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a real treasure. They are mentioning that in the chat, and I agree. That's a real treasure. That's amazing. I
Yeah.
had no idea about the dice, by the
Well,
way.
it's cool. It's been a long time. So, but that was my original set. And started playing, and we're just running adventures. We didn't, we're 11, 12 years old. We didn't know what we were doing back then. So my one friend Alan, who still plays, was one of the originals, and then I met Tim and Walt, and this is an original. This is my 1980. The World of Greyhawk glossography comes out, and this is what everyone knows. This is Gary Gygax's world, right?
Yeah.
Now it's really a bunch of different worlds all smashed together into one, but a lot of people didn't know that back then. But with the great heraldry and the maps, this is the original copy, part of the Darlene map, and this is what really made me fall in love with D&D. So in 1980, when that came out, I started logging I made a campaign up, and that's the Knights of Ulick from that time frame. Um, Made that as the basis for the entire campaign setting, and started logging adventures. I don't know why I did it, but I wrote down every single adventure we did
Do
back
you
then.
have that?
Oh yes, yeah. We were on the. We had just finished Saturday morning adventure number 999.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I saw those numbers and I said, "Whoa, that's a good way to keep track," but I didn't know it was from back when you
oh
started.
yes, absolutely. That's
Wow.
why that's what the number on my logo, which it's not on my shirt, but every year it changes. That the 43 is the number of years that the campaign's been in existence.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we're on 999 adventures. We'll be
Wow.
we'll get to 1,000. We're gonna have a special event Saturday morning on June 3rd, and yeah, it'll be 1,000. It's roughly, we're guessing, because we played all the time when we were kids and in high school and in college, all weekends.
Yeah.
We're guessing 3,350 sessions. That's a guess.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot. I usually ask, although I'm not sure if I should ask you, but I'll just do it.
please. Yes.
Have you had any pauses from playing since you started to now?
A few weeks here and there back when I was
Mm.
away at college, and I was only
Yeah.
down in Maryland. So, they come down, I come up. So it wasn't like twice a week during that time. But yeah, yeah, but no pauses. No,
Wow, that's
no,
I think you
contiguous.
are the first person that I meet that has been playing since they started to now. Like so far everyone has at least a couple of years pause. But wow.
Well, real life comes up, right? So,
Yeah.
school, career, wife, family, and we were just, I was fortunate that most of my friends didn't move away. We're
Hmm.
here, stayed in the area. And that way, and like my one friend, he was, was in the military. He was all over. So when he came back, he played. But our core group of players, we stayed together. So
Wow.
through the '80s, all the way till now. Yeah. So it's luck. That part of it's luck that we kept the same campaign going. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's true. And I want to clarify just to clarify, you mentioned, and we know, or we call it the same campaign, but is it truly the same campaign, or is like
All right.
same group of people, different campaigns?
So same campaign. Here's a 5e versus. I'm not bashing any edition. Here's a 5e versus 1e terminology difference.
Hmm.
5 years call story, what would they be called, adventure paths, like, let's just say, Tomb of Annihilation, right? That's an
Hmm.
adventure path. That's a story. That's not a campaign.
Okay, yeah.
They call that campaigns, right? A campaign is a setting, the setting itself of all the groups and all the characters and all the adventures, and the groups interact with each other and their stories going on. I got
Hmm.
plot arcs that are running 25 years. That kind. That's a campaign setting. That's a difference. So yes, been running the same campaign for 43 years. Yep.
Okay, that's a very important specification. I don't know if I have heard that before, like to be
Yeah.
specific on adventure and campaign,
Right.
but although it's amazing,
Thank you.
so many years.
Yeah, it's been
Uh,
a long time. Never thought
so
I'd get this far.
and in that one, you are the dungeon master, right? Or do you
Yes.
guys like switch it, or
Nine,
you have been
99
the master?
99.5% of the time I'm the dungeon master. Once in a blue moon, like my buddy Tim DMs, but we play his City State of the Invincible Overlord campaign, which was done by Judges Guild in the late '70s. So that's a different one where he'll DM sometimes, or Alan will DM once in a blue moon, but they're technically, not part of the campaign of the campaign setting. Just to
Okay.
change things up here and there, but not live stream. Very rarely. Tim will live stream a game on my channel, um, but it will be maybe within Greyhawk, but it's outside of the campaign. But yeah, for me, I'm almost the only DM. Yeah. So
All right. And is that a choice? So is that your preference?
I am a bit of a control freak and a little bit yeah, have some OCD issue. Yes, so it's my choice. Absolutely, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know because a lot of people often complain that I always have to DM because my friends don't want to, they are scared or whatever. But I mean, that's a choice and it's
Yeah.
amazing.
No, I love DMing. Love it. Absolutely.
All right.
It's the passion.
So I know everyone is wondering, I am, how do you keep that going for so long? Like the same group of people and the
It,
same setting.
it's a good question. A lot of it has to do with listening to my friends and my players, taking ideas from them. They're very creative, so they do things that enhance the campaign. For example, my friend Alan will tweak and enhance our critical hit tables.
Okay.
Bill has created a couple classes, plot
Wow.
lines. Yeah, oh, absolutely. And then Bill, my buddy Bill's doing all the crafting, so I know we'll get to that. But yeah, he's doing a lot. Yeah, I'm just the coordinator on that end. As I don't have an artistic bone in my body when it comes to painting or drawing or anything. But yeah. So and then I guess I've been doing it so long. I know what people like. People like to be challenged. They like and they like a good storyline. But you know, and our old school style of play is a little really, it's got a wargaming base to it, that, you know, and that's how D&D started back in the day, was from a wargaming society. So
Yeah.
our game is a little bit more tactical, but that doesn't mean that there's not you know, an aspect to it that is you know, doesn't have RP in it. But we don't we're not theater of the mind players, and there's nothing wrong with that style. But we're not you know, we're not running a TTE. You know, we're at the table. You know, we're in person at the table play, and that's what they just loved. Uh, I've always loved playing that way. So yeah, I keep it interesting. I keep the storylines going. I make the characters involved in what's going on around them, and they determine how the course of events goes. Another big thing too. Yeah, it's a heroic style campaign. You
All
know,
right.
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. And so you mentioned you've been playing in person, but now since you started the channel, I guess you have to change that to be online.
They're all in person at my house. They
Oh,
come.
wow.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
They're
you have a
there.
huge setting, and I knew your table was big because of the pictures, but then it's huge.
It's 8 foot by the table itself is 8 foot by 8 foot, and my entire basement. When I moved in this house in 2013, I was like, "This is the perfect house," because down in the basement, it's all just everything my game stuff. I have this room here, the computer room, and the basement downstairs. There are only two rooms in the house that I can lay claim to, right? So, um, but yeah, we play in person now. When I have special groups and special players, like I did yesterday morning when I had a nerdy guy to D&D's group play, they zoom in, but we play on the table, if that makes
Okay.
sense. So they're actually, I got all the camera angles and stuff, and everything is all play off the table. It's just like they're here, but I'm moving the stuff for them.
Okay.
So yeah, it's table. It's definitely miniature terrain style of play, with D&D.
No doubt about that. We've
Thank
seen the terrain. I'm sure you have, guys.
thank you.
Okay, so that is how you keep it, and makes complete sense. I guess if we could summarize for like an advice for anyone playing, either new or old, listen to the players, know what they want.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
I've,
now, sorry.
no, go ahead, please.
So my other question would be, and don't get me wrong, but why keep the same campaign? Have you ever considered playing something else?
Have, but it's not. Greyhawk is my favorite. Has always been my favorite setting. If you know, I'm real good friends with Ed Greenwood, who created Forgotten Realms. Right, Elminster that's Ed Greenwood, right? So,
Hmm.
Ed plays in my Greyhawk game, right? So, you know, it's
Wow.
just, yeah, absolutely. Ed comes on every June 10th. He's on again too, um, and but I just love the setting, and I love what we have developed. So Gary Gygax, who's the you know, the creator of Greyhawk, and
Mhm.
Bart, co-creator of D&D with Dave Arneson, always said make Greyhawk your own, and that's what we kind of have done with this setting. So I want to see where it's going to go over all these years.
Okay.
Plus, it's kind of nice to say you probably have one of the longest campaigns in existence, right? So
Yes.
bragging rights there.
Definitely.
And that's a story in itself. I started streaming because of a video in 2017 that came out from a Canadian gentleman named Robert Wardall, and the title of the video was "Longest D&D Campaign Ever." And it got on. It's been on millions and millions of hits. And I've been doing it 2 years longer than him. I'm like, that's enough. Yeah, yeah,
It's time to show them.
yeah.
So you
Well, we've tried, so yeah. Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I started streaming. I'm like, we can do this. So yeah,
all right.
and it's been
We
that in itself has, I think, reinvigorated the game
by
uh,
streaming.
by streaming, because we have huge um, viewer participation in the game because of the way we do like cheering, and also in all of our talk shows. I've had so many wonderful people on: Luke Gygax, Ed Greenwood, Eric Mona. If you've watched like if you watch Star Trek Picard, Todd Stashwick is a good friend of mine now, the actor on that. I mean, and he plays in the game occasionally. It's such a wonderful thing that it's branched out so far now that I have really just want to see. Like I said, I want to see where it goes from here. It's opened doors too. So and I'm enjoying doing it. It's a beloved hobby, and it's not ever going to be a career. If it turns into a slog in a career, I don't want to do it. I want to do it because I love doing it. So
Wow, that is amazing.
keeps you it keeps you from getting the stress of playing,
Yeah.
and I don't want to turn that into it. I don't want to burn out, and I don't want to turn it into something that I have to do, or that has to be monetized. The monetized part of it has to be here, and I don't want that. So yeah.
You have you ever felt that way, like that pressure? I know that is not a job, but
Mhm.
even though having this campaign for over 4 years, you haven't felt like the pressure of I have to keep it, I have to
Well, there are days I don't want to stream, right? I
okay,
feel I just don't want to, but I do.
yeah.
Because you're one thing when you get a loyal audience, they're expecting you to be there unless they know ahead of time, that there's a reason you're not. So
Right.
um, sometimes I'm just like, oh man, but I do it still. And there are nights I'm not on my top game for DMing, but I get through it, right? Because
How do
it's
you get through it?
how you reach back and you come up with some great thought or a great idea or something. Here's the thing with D&D. D&D is great because only the DM knows what he or she has planned,
Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
if I want to change something up last second, no one's going to know.
That's true.
Right in the middle. I've done that, and that's something else that's really neat about it. You can the game can go one direction, but you can throw in, oh my gosh, and with planning, you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this, and you can still enter it. It doesn't matter what's written down on in your notebook, and that's another thing. I'm too old school, and everyone's like, why don't you digitize everything? So I have like 50 of these notebooks of all adventures written, and just
Wow.
yeah, yeah, at least it's crazy. Um, but yeah, and all my notes and all the ideas. But yeah, so that's the thing about it. You gotta force yourself. It's just like anything else. If you want to do something well, you have to do it when you're not at your top, and that's the way I've always seen it. And it was a real difficult. The most difficult time was I got rejected for Twitch partner 12 times before I made it on. Yeah, it took 12, 13, the lucky 13 applications to finally get it. That was tough.
Why?
We can guess on demographics. You know what I mean? So, but let's,
Mhm. Yeah.
but yeah.
I
So,
mean,
but yeah, 13th time finally got it. It's been a year. Yeah, thanks, Gitano. It's been like a year and a half. I've been a partner, and that has opened even more doors. So, yeah,
of
but
course.
that took some time. 3.5 years of streaming till I got it. So,
Wow.
yep.
Now we do have a couple of questions. I think
Sure,
that's more of a joke, but still,
that's okay.
before I lose them. So, first
That's-
question is, how will you describe, or would you describe your narrating style?
I'm sorry, my DMing style or my or
Yeah, well, it's the question is narrating, but yeah, your DMing style.
narrating style. Okay, so I do not I do not describe in most cases unless it's pertinent. I don't go in and I don't narrate every detail like in a room or in a on a building. That's the thing with us. I let the models, I let the 3D prints, I let all the Reaper miniatures, I let them speak for themselves. And that opens me up to more of the gameplay, I think.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, and also my narrating style is more on a global scale as far as I'm trying to make everyone realize the Greyhawk can. This is going to sound a little deep. The Greyhawk connection. I'm trying to discuss. Like this character here knows this character over here, and this character here is important, and this is why, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that which I think breathes more life into the campaign. I'm not
Sure.
an ultra descriptive DM where I'm going down to the color of the floor tiles and that. But that's like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's just not the way I've never DM'd that way since I was a kid. So I'm not going to change the way I do it now. It's more about the larger this the adventurers and what the adventurers have to accomplish other than the
Okay.
ultra details
All right.
around it. And a lot of Theater of the Mind DMs are fantastic detail oriented narrators, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm that way. I'm more of a grander, bigger picture, oriented on what is happening in the campaign narrator. Yeah. So
Okay. So
thanks, Kitano. I know
and
when to be quiet.
I promise. And this is actually something a big debate in the RPG community, because there's the side that says you have to describe everything, and they don't like to use terrains because then you cannot describe because it's already there. If you say it's not there, if the players are seeing it, it's harder for them to imagine. And then there's the other side, the side that says, oh no, you have to have a terrain because that way you can interact. The social interaction is more important. And when I saw your huge terrain and everything that you guys have, I was wondering, do you have anything to do with how it's set up? Do you decide that? I know you said that you don't create them,
I
but
do all that. So yeah, my basement is I have 42 shelves of IKEA bookshelves down there with just yeah. I'm deciding what's going on the table,
okay.
what setting we're playing in Greyhawk, where what locations, what monsters, we have 27 different adventuring groups in the game. 27, and that's just my players. There are all of the special other groups that are coming in. Yes. So
Wow.
it's a little crazy because this is what happens. This is a funny story. So this is like 15 years ago. I'm like, guys, we're making up new firsts again. It's another new group. This is it. Right? No more. We don't need every 2 years that happens. So yes, because they like trying variety, like trying new characters. They want to make relatives of existing characters or sons and daughters of existing
Hmm.
characters. And so it goes on, and it just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. Like I think Alan's got 73 player characters. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. It's insane. It's almost unmanageable. We have roughly 2,000 PCs and NPCs in the campaigns.
All those characters are still alive and interacting.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, for example, you have a game today and you play with one character, and next week you play with another one.
Very possibly. So there's an event. There's all these different adventuring groups. Yeah, it's not. So it's not straight through the same. You're not playing the same character from first up to 20th. It's not it. And by the way, we've never had a player character in old school on our campaign make it to 20th level.
Wow.
Never. It scales up to characters start getting to that retirement age where they're becoming political, or whether they're becoming landholders or senior members of a knighthood. 13th, 14th, 15th is about it. So we have one character, a halfling thief, who's up to 18th from first level. That's it. That's the
Okay.
highest in all these years. But it's a different scale between first and second edition, third edition, and fifth edition. Right? They're a little different in their play and the play there. So how do I keep track of all that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
With a lot of folders, right? And a lot
Yeah.
of so if you've ever seen my color coded for rules, I have like on my back wall downstairs. There's like 20 of these, all my customized rules folders. This is all classes that most of them, you know, just and they're all color coded down there. So, but as far as characters goes, every player of mine in my main group has their own color coded folder with all the characters inside. And those, by the way, those sheets don't leave my house because we had one.
No.
No, no, because once one wanted to copy and update some of his characters, and he flipped his car and got a car accident and lost them all. So now, he was okay, but the character sheet were distressing. That's it. Nope, we're not doing it again. So yeah, yeah. Lesson
Okay.
learned. Yeah, you got to keep track of it. And it's not a linear game setting. So so for example, if I'm running the Huntsman, the adventure group, the Huntsman right now, we're running them. That adventure may have taken place before the other adventure I ran 2 weeks ago with the Harby Irregulars group. Does it make sense? It's kind of like a TV show, like it's almost like Game of Thrones, like where they're going back and they're going
Yeah.
forward and back. It's the same thing. Just it depends on but everything is interacting within each other. Yeah.
Wow,
Yes.
that's amazing. Actually, that was something that I wanted to know. If you played like all these years the same characters, and if so, how did you handle like the levels and difficulties? But
Right.
what you guys make, it's so logical. I don't know why I didn't think about that option,
So
but
so
it
but
makes sense.
well, and once again, I think it's coming from in the 5e world. Everyone is adventure path. Start here, run it through, finish it. And I'm like, and I say this in every interview: don't those characters should become part of something else at that point. They shouldn't be retired if they're successful. They should go off and they should be hiring other adventurers to go on
Yeah,
missions, or they should be, you know, becoming mentors or trainers, or magic user guild, individuals that are running whole organizations. That's what should happen to them. And I
yeah,
and I and I say it's an opportunity wasted if you're taking those characters and all those experiences and you're just saying, "Ah, we're going to start something else." That's what we didn't do. We've always made it so that it's been a very highly interactive, where a character that we ran 30 years ago may make a cameo appearance in an adventure I'm running next week, right? Something like that, and that's like, oh my gosh, that character's back. Yeah.
that's amazing. So all your players have old characters that they are no longer playing, that are
Yes.
retired, doing
Or
whatever,
dead. Yes.
or dead. Yes,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
they have their current characters.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. And actually, that's something that I wanted to ask about killing characters. I know that within all these years, at least one
Oh
had
yeah.
that situation. Uh, how do you feel about that? I mean, I know a lot of DMs don't like to kill characters and they prefer to invent something magical that prevents them from happening. But how do you handle that?
So it happens, but if you're not used to playing 1E, 2E, raised deads, resurrections, even reincarnates, they're much more available in the old school game than they are. Like when you die, you're not permanently, there's ways of coming back a lot more in the original D&D.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of characters have died. I mean, I think the record is 12. We've had a character die 12 times. An art Alan's character, named Arcturus, an archer cleric, he's died like 12 times.
I mean, this character has to learn to be a little bit more.
Well,
Um,
archers are a very powerful class. It was created by Lenga Lakofka, who's now passed. It's in an original Dragon magazine article, and we've taken it on. And archers are super powerful, and they're the banes of wizards, right? They tear wizards apart with arrows. So all the wizards go right after them. So, and that's what happens. All the spellcasters go right after those archers. So they tend to die pretty quickly. But I've had only 2 TPKs in all those 43 years. I am not a me versus them DM.
Okay.
I was when I was younger.
Well,
There were a
okay.
lot more. There were a lot more kills early on, but it's gotten one thing. My players are really good. They're really good. They know it's really hard for me to trick them, but two. A lot of the games I'm playing now are with special groups, and I'm not out to slaughter Ed Greenwood's character, right? I'm not out to kill Ravalantar, his Greyhawk mage. I'm out to challenge them. And so I'm not a dead, what you would call a death DM.
Mhm.
I'm a DM who's telling a story and trying to make it entertaining for them and for everyone watching. So
Right.
yeah, we've all been the butcher, exactly. We've all been there. We've all so we've all been to that point where, and it's called DM's crushing fist, right? Where wandering encounter, that's a DM that we've all done that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no stopping there. Yes, uh, and it gets to the point where the rivalries even come up in streams where players know there's a certain person who's playing a character, or they'll just load me up with what's called special anti-hero DM points for me to go out and try and beat the players. Yeah, so it happens even in the game, which is really cool about the interaction. So yeah,
Yeah.
good
That's
question though.
amazing.
Thanks.
How you mentioned that it's hard for you to trick your players, and I assume that a part of it is because they're good players, they've been doing it for a long time, and the other part might be because they know you, like it's easier for them to see when you're planning something.
So yes, but true. But they tend to know how to work well together too, which makes it difficult. I'm not saying that I haven't recently tricked them up, because I have. In fact, yeah, we're talking tonight's show is on the monsters and DM's dirty tricks. So yeah, it's ironic. That's the topic tonight. But I love sleight of hand, and I love trickery, and I love making them paranoid, which happens a lot because they're so paranoid that I'm setting them up when I'm actually not. That I can actually get them to do things that they shouldn't be doing, on someone who this little old lady needs help here, and they're like, it's a demon, it's a demon. No, it's just so yeah, exactly. That happens all the time now. So yeah, yeah. So it's fun though. It's part of the game, but I have two different. I'd say my play style is slightly different in both. Like on my Thursday nights where my guys are playing in a game, I'm not giving them any assistance whatsoever. I'm letting it's whatever happens there. But in my games with all the special people joining up and all, I'm giving them some suggestions because they're new. They're kind of new to the setting, and some of them like the group yesterday. They had never played old school 1E2E ever, so I'm helping them through a little bit, but I'm not. I'm still challenging them. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it,
but that's part of the game.
that's true.
It
How
is.
do you think? Okay, I'm gonna pause for a moment because we have commercials, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't want anyone to miss the chat with you. It's just great.
Okay, no
And
problem.
then I'll also fix why this is blurry. See.
The power of notes and the power of yes of all good. So
All right, I'm not sure if we are um, back from
looks like it.
commercials. Okay,
Looks like it.
yeah, we're back. Perfect. So what was right? How do you would you say that you keep it fresh? That's how I thought about it first. So you've been playing for a long time and with the same people. You do have special guests and people that come and go, but how do you find new ways to give them new adventures, new, I don't know, NPCs, new things to face that won't be like, oh, we did that 3 years
Right.
ago.
Oh, exactly. Well, the great thing now is the game has evolved, especially in the last 3 years, with how easy it is for us, at least, with 3D printing. So I can setting wise, man, I have this new setting out there. It's called Sojourn's Repose. It's like a place of learned sages and maesters, which we've added into our campaign setting. That was, because we have this entire entire location with keeps and buildings and all. So location wise, I can add stuff into my campaign, which makes it like fresh and new. Oh, we haven't been here before, and then from that I can take and do other ideas and missions off of the location setting. Also, the variety. I've learned this: a troll is not a troll anymore. So I
Okay.
can, like, for example, I have been tweaking myself certain creatures or certain and always I don't want to get off on a tangent, but always the most difficult encounters are with other adventurers, right? Other baddies. But with monsters, I've turned a troll into a pox troll where they give off some give off spores and they infect players. All sorts of different things you can do. You can
Oh.
the monster itself, and I've made monsters a little bit more scalable so that there's some that are they can be a little higher. Oh well, we know that's a 3 hit die monster. Well, no, it's not. It's 7 now. So seriously, there's a lot of different things you can do in that. Plus, there is so much lore out there that people don't know about in like old dragon magazines. There's different colored dragons, all sorts of things. I'll give you an example. So I was at Gary Con um, in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin in March. It's the annual celebration of the passing of Gary Gygax's son Luke has, and I'm DMing for Ed Greenwood, Eric Mengi, and a couple other people in person. First time I ever DM for Ed in person at this.
Wow.
Ed had a monster in an old, I think it was Dragon 59. It was called a Bleeder, and it looked like a beholder, but it
Hmm.
wasn't a beholder. It, like, sucked the blood out of you with the tentacles. So, and no one really ever used this monster, and I knew about it. So what I did was I said, "Hey, I got Bill to find a 3D print that was close to it, modify it a bit, make the monster, and I'm going to." I used it against his own creation against him and the players, and they yeah, exactly. There's all that stuff out there. You just need to know where to look for it. You know.
What was his reaction? Like,
Uh,
did
he
he
he loved it.
recognize it?
Oh, he loved it. Everyone else was like, "What is that?" Everyone else loved it. He loves. So another thing I do is I use his own spells he creates against him all the time because he has publications like Pages from the Mages, Drow the Underdark. They're all his, but I'll take spells out of there that no one else is using because they're in the old 1E 2E realm, and then I'll
Hmm.
I'll turn them and use them against his own party, and it's another thing. So there's so much undiscovered lore that's getting lost out there from the days the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I've been digging deep, and I've been finding that and using a lot more of it in the game. That's another way to keep it fresh too, is to bring it all back. So
That's true. Most of the campaigns or games that you find online from streamers or whatever are like the ones that are in at the moment, the new ones, or maybe one old one that right now it's full.
right.
We have a question in the chat that I was about to ask
Sure.
the same thing. Is there a site or a place to find all this information? Where do you get all those books and articles and all that?
All right, so that's and I'm not trying to self promote here, but the best place, my Gavin talk shows, I go over a lot of where all this is,
Okay.
because it's everywhere. You need to find a Dragon magazine and PDF, or you need to find go through Drive Through RPG and download some of these old books that are out of print because a lot of them are available on Drive Through RPG. And I actually have shows that are dedicated to, well, here's some tidbits in the third edition era that are really wonderful books, like the Relics and Rituals books that came out at that time by Sword and Sorcery. And I use them, and they have a lot of Shadow Mage spells in them. So I created a Shadow Mage caster class using most of the spells in the third edition. I back converted them to 1E, 2E. So those are some of the examples. And that's what a lot of my Sunday night talk shows are, is DMing advice, tips, and where to find how to replicate what I'm doing. Yeah.
All right. Okay, well, now that you mention it, I read somewhere when I was doing my research for this interview that you have three talk shows. Are
Yes.
they active? The three of them are active right now?
Yes, one is on a has been on a hiatus since Gary Con. So we have Wednesday nights, we have Legends and Lore.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, this week, Wednesday and Thursday, my normal stream nights, I have business corporate stuff I got to take care of, so
Mm,
I'm actually not going to be streaming those 2 nights this week. But
mm,
every Wednesday night, Legends and Lore is 8 p.m. Eastern. That goes over a lot of Greyhawk published lore slash canon discussions.
okay.
All right. Sunday nights at 7:30 is my Gavin. That's more about my campaign, special guests, general talk show. Ideas. I throw some stuff out there. I tried a game show once. I'll experiment. I'll talk about movies sometimes, D&D movies from the 80s and 90s. All sorts of
Mm-hmm.
things. And then we have what's called the Fantasy Mapping Show, and that's a once a month show with the great mappers Alyssa Faden and Anna Meyer, and that's the one that's on hiatus. Alyssa had her father passed, and she just hasn't been feeling up to doing it lately. So
Makes sense.
that's on a Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern US, once a month. It's usually the third Friday in a month. So
All
that's a
right.
good one. And that we go over map making techniques and a lot of questions about, because a lot of people are really into how do I make this map, and that, yeah. So those are the three
All right.
shows, but the two of them are every week. Yeah.
How did you start with those?
So that's a great question. Started in 2018, and we're playing on
The three
Thursday.
of them.
Yeah, it's 2018. That's June of 2018. I'm streaming one night a week on Thursdays with my
Mm-hmm.
friends. And I'm looking at the Twitch affiliate and partner rules. I think one night a week is going to cut it. If I stream one night a week, we're not going to get anywhere. And I'm like, I'm going to start a talk show. Perfect. So I started gabbing, and we are now on we've done 200. Tonight's 249, 249th gabbing we've done.
Wow.
So yeah. And then Legends and Lore was already in existence, but it was on our channel that failed. And Anna Meyer's a good friend of mine, and she's like, we want you to come in and co-host this too, and we want to run it on your channel. And this was all the Grey Hawk discussion. I was like, done. Wednesdays at 8. No, that one was done. And that we've added a lot to the show since it was on the other channel, and that's just so those are the two main ones. And the fantasy mapping show, we usually get 11 or 12 of them a year, and they're great too. So talking about, I mean, I've been honored the guests I've had on my. If you name someone from history in Dungeons and Dragons, 90% of them I've had on the show.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, big names of people that have won awards or that created the setting. Um, it's been an honor to. I had the great Leonard Lakofka, and he passed about 18 months ago. A shame. Um, I had him on that show like 40 times, and I gave Leonard open. I said, Leonard. So if you know Secret of Bone Hill, L1, the original, the L series, that's Leonard. Lendor Isle. That was Leonard in Greyhawk. Um, and he created the Archer. He has like, I don't know, 50 articles in Dragon magazines back in the day. And I said, Leonard, whenever you want to come on and talk, just come on. So he'd come on a show, talk. He wouldn't even know what the topic was. He'd hop on, give him my Zoom ID. He'd hop on, talk for 15 minutes, and just disappear. It was hysterical. Yeah. So it was great though. I had him on like 40 times. And then
Wow.
yeah, he was on the night before. He was actually on the night before he passed. It was a shame. But he was a legend of D&D early on. Leomund, if you know, everyone knows Leomund's secret chest, right? Or Leomund's hidden secret shelter. Those
That
spells.
one I'm not sure.
Yeah. Uh, that's Leomund is Leonard Lakofka. That's his character. Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
How did you manage that?
How did I manage getting him on the show?
Yeah, all of them.
I
Like
asked.
getting in touch with.
So I can't. I was when I was younger. I was actually a councilman in my hometown for 2 terms for 6 years, and when I was 20. So talking to people's second nature, I have no problem. I have no problem hearing no. It took 9 months to get Leonard on the show, get him comfortable, but um, Ed's such a nice guy. Ed will always come on. There's people who have said no to me that I have not had on the show. Like both of the, I won't name them, but but you'll know both of the founders of Dragonlance. I can't get them on the show. I've tried. I've
Oh,
tried to get them both on.
you have
Uh,
to keep trying.
I'm trying. I'm still trying to get, yes, them both on. But I will always ask, and it got a lot easier when I made Twitch partner, and that's what I said it opened doors, because now that little silly check mark means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and so that opened some doors for me to get a lot more people on and taking advantage of that. But you know, just like with the way where I have 8 sponsors on my channel, okay, if they say no, they say no, right? So you go out there and you get you have companies that really are helpful, that supplement what I'm doing on my channel, and just ask,
Hmm.
and that's it. Yeah, that's how I
Just reach
got
out
them.
and ask.
Just read that. That's what you did with me, right?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So yeah, just reach out and ask. And a lot of times people are busy and they'll be very courteous and say, "Well, I can't do it now, but how about at this time?" And so I'm like, okay, sure. So I have a schedule stacked out of special guest appearances down the road, because I try and schedule out like talk shows almost a month in advance with special
Yeah,
guests. Yep.
yeah, that's a good plan. Well, actually, you answered the other question that I had written down about your sponsors, because the
Yeah.
first video I watched from you guys wasn't live, was one of the ones on YouTube. I don't remember the name right now, but it was well, never mind that. I was watching and listening to the first part of the conversation before the game, and then the sponsors started to appear on the screen, and I was amazed because I know most of them, and I'm like, how? How did
Like,
he get all that?
you mean like Reaper? I mean, everyone knows Reaper Miniatures, right?
Yeah.
Reaper, Trollord Games. I'm actually doing partnership work with them now, Trollord. And I have 2 3D print companies. Stratagem Whiz Dice are awesome. We so and then Portrait Workshop and a couple others. So uh they especially we're at an advantage with being a miniature and terrain tabletop version.
Hmm.
They want their stuff out there advertised.
Of
What's a
course,
better
yeah.
way to have it advertised than someone's playing with it,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, Reaper was my third sponsor. Reaper took a little bit, but I got Reaper, and they've been great. And the great thing about all these companies is they're very generous, and they all assist and participate in all our fundraiser events that we do. And they also we have a convention every October, virtual GrowdCon, and they always
Mhm.
sponsor it. So I have some great sponsors, and yeah. There's one I won't say the name. There's one I've tried to get over the years, and I haven't been able to. So I've stuck out on one.
I mean, one, but when I saw Wiz on your screen or on the screen, I was like,
Yeah, but once again, it's the play style we have, and I always say this. A lot of people ask, "How do I get sponsors?" And I say to them, "Well, you decide if you're going to be a theater of the mind, or you're going to be a VTT
hmm,
a stream. Find someone who makes maps for it, or something, and." Whether they're looking, they're up and coming. You don't have to go for the big fish. There's a lot of other people out there that are really looking to get their stuff promoted, and that's it.
that's
Just
true.
create partnerships, community and partnerships. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's completely true. So you mentioned some of your sponsors have miniatures and terrains. So part of the terrains you use are the ones created by Bill, if I'm not mistaken.
So what happens is we have three 3D printers. We have one resin and two PLA plastic printers, and the
Hmm.
resin's the one really been going a lot. So and Reaper makes a lot of ton of miniatures and some mini terrain setting pieces. Miniature Building Authority, all those resin cast buildings. I've known him since 2000. Uh, Kurt, he's great, and we've used them for a lot of our city settings. So what happens is it's an amalgamation of everything, right? All that stuff, underlays on the table, old geohex, some custom built tree settings, some custom built little mounds, and then all of the 3D prints. And we try and stay a few months out. And for real big events, I give them 6 months. And the biggest one, if you've ever seen, if you want to go and you want to go back to, it's on YouTube now. A couple of them is our annual joust we have at Virtual
Mhm.
CrowdCon, and that one was tough because no, there was no tilt wall out there. If you know the movie Knight's Tale, everyone knows the tilt wall, right? And there's none of that. We couldn't find that. So my Gamescape 3D, and he's a one man show. That one company, Jeremy. I said, Jeremy, can you make tilt wall? We need a joust setup. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So he made that and all the outside walls and everything, and made them in 3D prints. And then he actually even printed them out for us, sent them to Bill, and Bill adorned it up and did it all. And then we have that big arena by Infinite Dimensions. It looks like a scene from Gladiator, that full arena. The thing's huge. That was another thing. We've done some grand jousts and grand melees. So that took a long time to make. That was like 6 months.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can
So,
imagine.
so I'm actually a coordinator, a planner, and what I'm gonna run. I try and stack that out a few months. What adventure I'm running, and I've been doing that right now for our 1000th adventure on Saturday, June 3rd. Yeah.
Wow. So that actually was another thing that I wanted to ask if you plan or how far ahead do you plan your campaigns or your adventures, the sessions, and of course your events, your talk shows, all that.
Regular games about 2 weeks. Big events 4 to 6 weeks. Usually a little more if we need something new terrain wise.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, makes sense.
yeah. If it's something I like, well, we don't have this. We need this made. What's out there? We got to start doing the research on it. An example of that is um, last year's fundraiser for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. It was our 5th annual one. There's Eric Mona who runs Paizo, if you've ever heard
Hmm.
him. Um, likes when I run bad published adventures that were made back in the day. So I ran this adventure Puppets. It's awful. But I wanted to put a little spin on it for this fundraiser event. So I called
Hmm.
it Puppets and Then Some. So I'm like, Bill, I need this, and this in 3D print. All these crazy puppet miniatures painted up and done. And he's like, what? I was like, hey man, you got 4 months. Right? So we got all these crazy miniatures that were for that. And that's a long-term plan. Fundraisers, I try and go the extra mile. And uh,
Yeah, makes sense.
have a lot of our other Twitch channels participating in the community. This year we raised $25,400 for St. Jude, so we're really proud of doing that. So every year we've raised more and more and more. Thank you. Yeah, so it was worth it. It was worth all his pain getting all those miniatures together. Plus now
Wow.
I'm going to run it. I'm going to run it next year at GaryCon. So yeah, so I'll take those.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Wow.
part of it. That's part of it. It's just you want to have fun with what you're doing. So
Yeah,
can't take
yeah,
yourself too seriously.
that's
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
Especially if you do it for a long time, like your guys' case. Um, so I had a question, but I want to ask about something you mentioned before.
Please.
You mentioned we have to plan, and you speak on we.
Right.
So how do you and who is we first of all, and how do you coordinate that?
All right. So we tends to be me, the main group, me, then Bill, who he's the rookie. He started in '92 playing. So he's only
Okay.
been around 31 years. Um,
It's the
right.
root.
Yeah. And then there's Alan, Bill, and Tom, and then there's the ever mysterious Tim who pops on here and there.
Hmm.
So and Tim goes back to 8. So Alan's 78, Tim and Walt's 80, Mark, who has moved away to Ohio and comes on once in a blue moon, he's 83, Tom is 86, and Bill's 92. There you go for that how long ago.
Wow.
As far as what we're doing every couple weeks, if it's going to require something out of the ordinary that I don't have, and I also want to throw by them, hey, I'm going to run, I think I'm going to run the Narwhal Headhunters this upcoming next week. Oh, everyone okay with that? Or I'm going to run a higher group of adventures this week. And then, they also tell me who's not going to be there. There's always family stuff or people on vacation or whatever.
Yeah.
So, just so I know. But we have a style of play that if one or two people aren't there, we can still play. So it works. If I'm missing three of the five, then I'll bring in some of the guests from the audience and actually play on the Thursday. Some of the special people. I have some
Mm-hmm.
last second backups that'll hop in some of those games. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then when we're talking about we're planning, it's more about what tearing down and setting up on the table takes roughly 3 to 4 hours.
Wow.
Right? Every time. So, for example, I ran an adventure Thursday night with certain the terrain. Only the Saturday special group was in the same location, so I didn't have to
Mm-hmm.
change a lot of it. Only some of the outskirts encounters. So that's what I mean by we is a general term. Like I'm planning with the group, or I'm planning how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to coordinate all this, and because not only you're playing, but I'm streaming it. So I got to coordinate all of that together, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
Especially with special groups, and how hard it is to get people to commit to, like, especially if there's 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
It's tough if they're not your regular players. You gotta stay on top of it, and so, but normally that's what I mean by we is I don't want to ever say that it's just everything I've done is me. It's been a group effort from everyone else.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
Yes, of
using.
course. Being there and participating on the game, that's huge.
Yeah, definitely, and everyone's enjoying themselves and having a good time, and we do some, it's we're like a bunch of 50-plus-year-old adolescent kids, right? You just haven't grown up, but that's all right. Keeps us young.
Speaking speaking of growing up, and this is something I have to change the question because I usually ask how starting to play has changed your life. But in
Right.
this case, that question doesn't make sense because you've been playing for most of your life. So how does your life as a dungeon master and your like personal life combine? How they interact?
So I'm gonna say this in jest. I've been married 29 years, but I
Oh,
played
okay.
D&D 43.
All right.
She knew what she was getting into.
It wasn't a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. So there's balance. Uh I would love to run a game every Saturday night because that's when a lot of people are watching. I'd love to run a special event every Saturday, but that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Family stuff's going on, date nights. I have a 13-year-old son, so it's just you have to do a balance, and I found that balance. I've always tried to find balance in my life between career and hobbies and family life. I just without that you're gonna lose something. And
Yeah.
that just so it's just been I could stream 5 times a week if I theoretically I could, but that wouldn't be healthy for my marriage there. So I've it's I call it 3.5 times a week, or 3 normal weeks and then a special event every second or third week. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what we do. Yeah.
That's you said son, right?
Yes, he
That's
plays.
your son. Yeah. It
He doesn't.
plays?
He plays, but he doesn't play live with D&D yet. He's played. I could do a BattleTech game, a sci-fi game. I did that 2 Saturdays ago. He played in that live stream, and we have a group. So my friend Tim, my friend Bill, and I, and all our sons have a group together that we play once in every couple months, and we get together. But I haven't streamed that yet. I'm not ready to do that yet. I mean, he's 13 soon. Soon we may, yeah,
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
but it's different.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we do say that there's a lot of stuff comes up on the channel, and I just want to, it's
Yeah, no, there are
there's
some
a
things that it's best to keep like
yeah,
within the group and
mature audiences group, especially I have an all female cast called the Squad of players every couple months, on a Saturday night. Yeah, let's just say they are the most on the edge of Twitch Manning, right? No, they just yeah. So
yeah,
absolutely.
I
Now,
can imagine.
I have a really scary thing. I did this last right before Christmas. I have Ed Greenwood's group, 3 of them, and 4 of the Squad, and they're doing a crossover event together on June 10th. And I know what's going to happen. It's just going to be a lot of sex jokes and stuff, but that's the way it goes in those
You
games,
need
you
to
know?
have a special disclaimer for that day.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone knows. Everyone knows. Like, I have two other streamers, Dawn and Creepshow Little Bones, and they are, yes, they are hysterical when it comes to that. And Ed, everyone says Ed's a dirty old guy, but Ed's harmless. But Ed fits right in with them. Ed's eyes are popping out of his head as they're talking. So it's hysterical. It's real, yeah. And that's part of it. You gotta have fun. Yeah, right. Yeah, you gotta have fun with it. You can't take yourself too seriously, and that's I think I found my niche in Twitch with old school gaming, miniatures and terrain, a Greyhawk, which very few people are streaming. Plus, we stream our Thursday night game. We stream us playing the game, not a theatrical presentation. No one's ever going to confuse us with Critical Role ever, right? It's just not even close. But that's what we stream. We stream us playing the game. So sometimes they'll go off on a tangent on football or something, it'll happen,
Yeah.
right? But that's how most home games are, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I read that disclaimer you have written, I believe it's on Twitch or maybe
Yeah,
on
it's on
your
the front
Facebook
page on
page.
Twitch. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I read that and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's good. It's something that I want to watch. It's more feels
Realistic.
more real. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not theatrical. No one's ever going to confuse us for us getting SAG awards, never, or Academy Awards for acting. It's not happening. So, yeah, but that's part of the charm of the channel.
Yeah. Yes, of course. I completely agree.
Thank you.
Now, let me see which question should go first. Yeah, let's finish this part first.
Okay.
Could you tell us about the name, the Lord Gosumba name, and
Yes.
your coat of arms, the story behind those two?
All right. So this is the Order of Yulek's shield symbol. As you can see, the community, when I did the first virtual GrowlCon, gave me a real shield. This came from the community. They gave to thank me for running virtual GrowlCon 1, the first con we ever did. So it is a sword crossed with a hammer. It was a hammer of thunderbolts, sword and hammer crossed on the two colors of the order. So and this goes all the way back, to 1980. And Lord Gosumba is a triple class fighter cleric mage, which is a loud class back in the day, for a half elf, and he is the head of the Order of Yulek. So that's basically in that character. I play that character. It's as an NPC once in a blue moon on a stream. Yeah, that's he's a high level
so
character.
he still appears.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Whether it's going to be in the background, or I actually ran him and used him as an NPC. And if you have Candlekeep Mysteries, that book that came out a couple years ago, the highest level adventure is called Xanthoria, and that is written by my friend Tony Winslow Brill, who plays an Ed's game, and it has to do with Zugdemoy, which is original Greyhawk demon demigoddess. And I was like, this fits perfectly into my campaign. And it was for 16th level and up. I ran that, and I actually used him as the NPC in that adventure. Yeah, that was the last time I dusted him off. That character goes way back to 82, 83. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
I mean, I love when old characters appear and everyone is like, oh, I know that guy.
Exactly.
I saw him grow up.
And that's the thing about it. We do not. Any character could be possibly be used going all the way back since the beginning. Like, you may be retired, but you're not dead, right? So something may happen that you're needed, and I've had open adventures where I'm like to my guys, I'm like, I don't care, you play anyone you want that you have, anyone. Done that. I did that when we started our fundraiser in February. I ran a Thursday night kickoff game. I said, I don't care who you play. You play any of your one character, but you can play any of them, and so that they all got to choose.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know it's a lot.
Mean...
we've done a lot and seen it a lot, and I'm honored to have gotten this far. I never thought back, 40 some years ago that I would be at this point. And if we hadn't streamed, we still would be in the dark, right?
No.
38 years, we didn't connect with anyone on the outside. So it was the streaming and that kind of got me in connection with a lot of these great people and other companies and and conventions, and it's been great. It's been fun.
Did it change? I mean, I know you mentioned that some of your players weren't happy about the idea, but for you, did it change how you visualize the adventures or how you plan,
Yes.
how you, yeah,
Yes, it did. It did
how?
a little bit. It did a little
Okay.
bit because I have to think now. I have a lot of Dwarven Forge, but your old school dungeon crawl is one sheet of paper, right? A sheet of paper, and it's filled with the entire dungeon underground, right? Everything, all the hex, the grids and all. I
Hmm.
there's no way I could put that on the table. Like there's like 100 rooms, and I can't put this on the table. So I have to trim down some things and make it so that there's things, there's only so much I can fit on an 8 foot by 8 foot table. So yeah,
I
that's
mean, it's
that
big, but it's not that big.
right, exactly. And I don't have $20,000 in Dwarven Forge in my basement. Close, but no. But yeah, it's nuts. So a lot of that I've had to think about how we present the game. And also it's made me really good at convention DMing, and especially with the special groups, because the last thing I want to do is run an adventure and end on a cliffhanger. Oh, like we're going to get together in 2 or 3 months again. I don't like that. I want to get each adventure done to a point where they're comfortable it's done, and then hey, we'll be back again in a couple months with this special group of players. um so it's made me really good at running, getting an entire idea through in 4 to 5 hours, which is
Wow.
the time you have in a convention. Because when you're going
Hmm.
to sit down in a gaming convention and DM, that table is someone else's when you're done. Because it's just like boom,
Yeah.
boom. You got to get off that table in that time slot. So uh, that's really helped me. Yeah, but you never think that Twitch would help with, but it has. Yeah, yeah.
That's good. That's good. A lot of people have mentioned to me, I don't think on the interview so far, but speaking in general with other people, they have mentioned that they had to adapt how they play, but not so much of a helpful way that you're mentioning, but the other way. I had to change to keep people happy, the viewers.
Um, no, for us, I incorporated that into an existing rule we used in our game, and I think it's been unbelievably hugely successful, right, Grendelwolf? Like, for example, the audience wants to just feel vested at a little bit, right? And wants
Yeah.
to know that, wow, I can affect what's going on. And for our cheering system, where they give special hero points or regular hero points, like for every 10,000 points accrued in the Twitch system, they can turn that in and they can give a special +1 roll to someone who they can assign to, or they can give
Hmm.
it to me, so, and then for every 500 in cheer, they can do a special which can be used after a die roll is made. It's been very successful. Worked that way. Plus, I give out. They can turn in a certain amount, 5,000 for a VIP badge for 2 weeks. So I try and keep the audience vested in the game. Yeah.
That's good.
So I think it's enhanced my gameplay. I've not had to tailor to someone and it's been a negative.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And someone mentioned it on the chat way back at the beginning of the interview, but I want to point that out and mentioning on my, it is my own opinion as well. Congratulations on all this. It's
Thanks.
amazing, all this time, all this effort, and the results.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised that we have come so far. There's still more to be done. Uh, I I I'm in partnership with, like I said, with Troller Games, my city, Altamira, working on getting that in a published box set. So that's been a huge thing that I've been working on. And then also just continuing to connect with people. I'm trying to get as many of those people from the glory days or early days of D&D on, because we're all of us are not getting any younger, right? So there's a lot I'm still working on trying to get them on with interviews. A lot of artists I'm trying to get on with
Mhm.
interviews, and and just keep and keeping things going. I said this to a lot of people on stream. They're like, "Oh no, no." I said we're gonna have our 1,000th episodes, 1,000 adventure celebration next month. I'm not getting to 2,000. It took me 43 years to get to 1,000. Right? There
Mhm.
isn't going to be a 2,000. So enjoy this one. I'll be 99 years old, right? If it's another 43 years, yeah, you get it. It's just
Yeah,
like enjoy what we're doing now,
this
and
is
just
the special celebration. It's
yeah, enjoy it, and have fun with it, and that's it, and not take ourselves too seriously. And um, some of the things I keep a lot of the political discussion that's going on in the world. That stuff. This is an escape for us, right? So we make it the great world of Greyhawk for us is just a wonderful place to go, and it's just keep our minds active, and there's a lot of thought and a process that goes into the game, and a lot of problem solving goes into the game, and that's why we've loved it so much over the years. A lot of creativity.
well, yeah, a lot that I completely agree. That's necessary. So, I am going to move a little bit
Sure.
outside of the main subject we've been discussing for the last hour.
Yeah, no
Have
problem.
you played or tried any other systems besides C&D?
Yes, I play BattleTech on my even on my channel now. It's a sci-fi futuristic game. There's an old school game called Aftermath, which is post-apocalyptic. Um, haven't played that in a long time. Tim tends to GM that, game master that.
Mhm.
Um, and we tried Shadowrun back in whenever that came out in the '90s, and I couldn't stand it. It was awful. Too many six-sided dice. I know it's changed now. Um, and I really haven't. I'm not a big fan of fifth edition, so because my edition is developed it's my own rule set at this point,
Yeah.
right? But I w- I would always try another system here and there, and play if someone asked, if I had the time. But it's just like the two D&D's number one, and the BattleTech games two. We play a lot of card games. I play play a lot of Catan. A lot, there's a lot of board games I love playing too. So,
Hmm.
um, but beyond the RP, it's really D&D, almost all the way there. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I can imagine.
yeah, and it's just every opportunity we get to unless it's like I said, now that I'm a partner, I have to worry about numbers and all that now. So I will throw in a BattleTech game here and there, or do something out of the ordinary. I can experiment with things, which is great, or different ideas for shows, and not have to worry about it like I used to. It was a nightmare. That was a stress and grind. That one was really yeah. But now I'm a little more relaxed that we were successful there. So
Yeah, I mean, again, makes sense.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. I'm sure that we could spend hours and hours and
Sure.
hours picking your brain on information on especially on D&D and especially on Greyhawk. However, the idea or what I wanted with
Mhm.
inviting you, we can go to your talk show. We can go to the other interviews or we can watch you play because there's the information about that. But I wanted to have a little bit more about you, what you like, what you play, how you make those plans, how you keep all that in your brain. And I really appreciate that you accepted.
Sure.
I'm sure the audience did as well. It's amazing all the
Thank you.
things that you have achieved and the dedication that it takes. I am really amazed
Well,
and honored that you're here.
thank you so very much. I always put this offer out there in the future. If you want, you have you in a small group, I will DM for you a session. I will run you an old school game.
Ah, yes.
We'll get some make some characters up, and absolutely, it'll be a fun time. I'd love to do that. We can do that and set it up, and um, usually a Saturday morning works, or Sunday morning, whenever, outside of the regular, or even a Saturday night if it's free, whatever works, we can get it set up in the future.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll have fun. It's a great way to see the differences, how the game has evolved from the old 1E, 2E, all the way up to now 5E, and
Yeah.
what has changed in the rules, and what has changed in the, just the game is really, I mean, the game has taken on such worldwide acclaim now. But it's a different style. It's a completely different style, but that doesn't mean that both of them are not fun. Both of them are, and
That's true.
you learn things from one that you may take out of it and put it into your other. Like I pulled a lot out of third edition into my first edition game, like feats. I pulled feats and put them into my proficiency system, which
Oh.
there were no feats back then in 1E, 2E, but I merged them into our proficiency system, and I was glad I did that. So, but yeah, and you'll learn stuff. You'll learn what you like, and like I said, there's no two DMs in the world that aren't alike. Every DM that I've ever seen is different, a little, and that makes it such a special game, because you're going to get a little bit of a tweak of it, a little different. Like, oh wow, you do that this way. Seriously, there's no two identical dungeon masters, and that's why I love the game. It should be celebrated for that. Yeah.
But it is true. It's very versatile, and with all the years of existence, a lot of options there are. So before I move to the next part
Sure.
of the show, I want to say that I accept what you mentioned. I do
Excellent.
want that session, and I know that at least other three from the studio, from Ampersand Studio, will
Good.
accept.
That's
So
four is perfect. Four players is perfect.
yay!
Awesome. Fantastic. Very
All
cool.
right. So we will coordinate for that. But we are unfortunately reaching the end
Yeah,
of
I
the
know.
interview.
Time
Uh,
flies.
especially because you do have a talk show and I don't want to mess with that.
No, we're good. It's all right. Okay.
So, but before I jump to the announcements and all the last section,
Mhm.
I would like to give you some time for you to make any announcements or anything that you would like to say besides what you've said so far.
Okay.
Now's your time.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so very much. I know um, that we come from. I'm honored that you would consider talking to me just to see how it happened. How things evolved. It's been a real journey, and you know, Twitch is filled with streamers, and I think that I can say this, we are kind of unique what we do there, and that kind of makes it special to me to know that I have something out there, as far as, wow, look at the guy with all that terrain out there, and what are they doing, and people get, catch that, and it's a great feeling. But as far as what's coming up for us, the 1000th adventure on June
Yeah.
3rd. I have, like I said, that Saturday night, June 10th, I have Ed Greenwood, that crossover event. I have another legend coming on Gavin on June 11th. There's the third ever adventure path that was made was called Savage Tide. And was made by Paizo when they had rights to Greyhawk back in the early 2000s. And James Jacobs was the creator of that, the Savage Tide campaign arc. And we're going to talk about that on the show on June 11th. And my co-host, because Anna Meyer is going to be in Sweden, back home visiting her family, is
Nice.
Eric Mona is going to be, the guy who runs Paizo is going to be my co-host that night. So that's coming up in a couple weeks too. Oh yeah, Eric's a great guy.
Wow.
Eric's fantastic. Yeah. So yes, and we're just going to continue doing our adventuring, and go through the summer. A lot of people will be on vacation, so it'll be kind of, I'll be off. I'm off a lot next week because of work, but I'll be off like the third week in June for vacation. Be down in Florida, but other than that, we're just going to keep on doing what we're doing up to October 6th through the 8th is our 4th annual virtual GrowCon.
Nice.
And that's we
Oh
have,
yeah.
yes, and we have a lot of we have usually 24 hours, 7 day, 3 day week. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have streamers running shows all throughout those 3 days, but we have 50 to 60 games that you can sign up for and just play non-live stream. Normally it's connected via Zoom or Discord with some
Mhm.
legends, some legends and some great streamers and some people in the community who are just great DMs and groups like Greyhawk Reborn. And so there's and it's like it's almost free. It's like we charge $5 just to cover costs and to make it so that people have a vested interest in showing up, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, and this is our 5th year, and we'll have I will be hosting a joust that Saturday night. Yes, I'll be
Nice.
hosting the joust again as the main event. Yeah, there'll be some fun things in store for that. People look forward to that every year. We'll have some great content with that, and that will then the year will wind down. We'll start it up all again in 2024. So, but
And then we go again.
yes, lots of cons. And next year's the 50th anniversary of D&D on 2024. So it's a big year next year.
Mhm.
But this year we got a lot of stuff going on, and we'll keep it rolling here. And Fobo, thank you so very much for inviting me.
No, well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
accepting, especially with all the things that you do. I'm amazed.
well, thank you.
um, we here on the channel have a way to say thank you for our guests to accept, for accepting the interview. It's a symbolic way to say thank you. It's an acknowledgement that our designer, well, founder and designer of the studio makes. People will be able to see it right now on Twitch, and I
Oh, cool.
will send it to you when we're done.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Again, thank you so much for
You're
accepting.
welcome.
It
My
has been a
pleasure. And we will talk offline about dates up in the future to get this game
yes.
going. I'm with vacation. I'm booked through June, but July and August are open, so we'll see if we can figure something out then.
Yeah,
Sound good?
yeah, that sounds amazing.
That would be
And
awesome.
before I let you
Thank
guys
you.
go, well, thank you so much for the audience for being here. For whoever is watching this on YouTube later, also thank you so much for coming. And real quick announcements for next week. On Friday, we have our original game created by Forjador, Eterno Bled. It's in Spanish, the stream, unfortunately, but if you guys want to come and jump and see what we do, please join. On Saturday, we have Orden del Pedro Fulgurante. That's also the interviews in. Oh, no, wait, never mind. This Saturday, we don't have a show. That's good to remember. We don't have show this Saturday and Sunday because maybe you don't know, but we are changing the location of the studio, so we are getting everything ready for you guys.
Oh, cool.
That's good that I remembered. So that, but then you will be able to see on our social media all the next events that we will be having. And of course, you will see the one that we will have with J. Scott.
Awesome. And
All right.
yeah, and it's more a weekend here in the US next weekend. So it's like,
Yeah, true.
yeah, it's whew, barbecue time. Yeah, so
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming. Thank you guys for joining us.
my
And
pleasure.
may your checks be always critical.
Have a good day. Thank you.